Tēnā tātou. I wrote my speech a couple of weeks ago and then I found out that I was going after the Sir Dr. the Honourable Justice Joe Williams, so this is a bit of a new one. Nā e mihi ana ki a koe te rangatira. Tēnā tātou katoa, tuatahi ake ka mihi ahau ki tō tātou nei whare o te herenga waka. E moi ana I tēnei wā engari hei tōna wā ka oho mai anō. E mea ana te kōrero ko te reo te waharoa ki te ao Māori, nā tēnā whare ahau I karanga ki te ao Māori. E hia kēnei ngā wā I noho ahau I roto I taua whare, tatatangi ana I taku kore mōhio, kore mārama I te reo rangatira e re haere ana. Nā wai, ka mārama ki ētahi kupu, ki ētahi rerenga, ki ētahi kōrero. Nā reira e mihi kau atu ana ki te whare rā, o te rā e mihi ana ki te katoa o ngā kaiwhakāko, me ngā kaiāwhina I hoki mai anō ki te whare, ki te whakamanawa I ngā rangapu e haere ake nei. Tēnā koutou. I would like to acknowledge all the whānau members and friends that have travelled to be here today to celebrate our graduates. Your support has been a massive factor in the success of the graduate and your whānau. Whether this support looked like financial support, care packages, having a quality cooked meal at home in the breaks, or just being on the other end of the phone when things got a bit overwhelming or stressful, thank you. I would like to specifically acknowledge my Nan. She's the only of my 4 grandparents still here with me today, so it's really special to me that she came all the way from Poie country in little old Pātea. I always promised her that when she made it down here I'd take her to the club, so that's what we're up to tonight. I runga I tēnā, I would like to acknowledge all of the important people to us who weren't able to be here today, our tinana, but without a doubt they're here with us today, our wairua. Kia kuhoa te whare wānanga, congratulations. You should be incredibly proud of yourself, all of your whānau and your iwi and your tipuna are proud of you. E mihi ana ki a koutou katoa. There's 2 key lessons that I've learnt here that I'd like to share, and they're linked to the 2 highlights of my experience at university. The context of my first is that when I started university I was incredibly shy, particularly in my Te Reo classes, and I sat silent in class for the majority of my first 2.5 years. I dreaded being asked a question or having to do group work or anything like that, just out of fear and shame of having to speak. My classmates were supportive and helped me understand instructions, but I felt like I wasn't really making any progress and constantly felt inadequate. My highlight is the first time that I voluntarily answered a question in class. It was my 3rd year and it was in Dr. Riana Te Ngahue's class, and I remember it being one of the first times I felt like I was kind of following what was going on in class. I can't remember the question, but I waited and waited for somebody to answer and no one did, so I tentatively put my hand up ready to snatch it back down. I answered the class and Karina, with a little or possibly a lot of masked disbelief, went, "Koia pū!" And at that moment the whole class started clapping for me, probably out of shock. So my first lesson was ko tōku reo tōku ohoho, tōku reo tōku māpihi mauria, nā tā timoti karetu. My language is my awakening, my language is the window to my soul. As I said at the beginning of my speech in Te Reo, I sat inside of our wharenui on the brink of tears countless times during the start of my Reo journey, and it was difficult and it felt endless, and I was ashamed and just wanted to stop turning up. But that's what unpacking intergenerational whakamā looks like, and it's never going to be easy, but it's always going to be worth it. So to my fellow graduates, those who haven't found the right way to delve into Te Reo yet, find it. It is the waharoa to te ao Māori, and if I could get past the deep inherent shame, then you can as well. My second highlight is my moot in Te Reo. A moot is essentially a mock trial competition, and you have to defend or prosecute a case in front of a panel of judges, including Justice Joe in that year. I regretted signing up to the competition in Te Reo every moment up until it was over. And then Justice Joe started grilling me on my legal arguments, and I was like, hold on, I'm just here to speak Te Reo. But it's now one of my proudest achievements, even though I got smoked. It was also the first time that my dad had seen me speak Te Reo. He's now deep into his own Te Reo journey, and I couldn't be prouder. So my second takeaway is tū whitia te hopo, mai rangatia tangitu, nā tā te wharehuia milroi, which essentially means feel the fear and do it anyway. I think that this ties in well with where we're all heading in our careers. We've been privileged enough to get a tertiary education, which opens a lot of doorways into different spaces for us. Lots of these spaces have had Māori and Pākehā academics, also Pākehā, fighting for recognition for a long time. From what I've seen, it feels like a lot of these industries are now realising that we as Māori and Pacifica have an entirely different skill set and worldview on top of being successful in a mainstream institution such as this one, and that this is extremely valuable. We have the Māori Health Authority, the beginning of the fusing of tikanga Māori and the common law, Māori values becoming a focal point in resource management, Māori MPs bucking the colonial status quo and winning, and just across the board a real recognition of the value of our systems. I'm not sure if it's just me, but that feels kind of scary to me, that these champions of Te Ao Māori have been fighting and creating these solutions for us for so long, and we're entering our careers at a time where great, possibly flawless implementation and execution is necessary. But even though it may be daunting, tū whitia te hopo, mai rangatia te angitu, because it's never going to be easy, but it's always going to be worth it, and so much of the hard part has already been done. So to my fellow graduates, be proud of how hard you've worked to get to this position, recognise and appreciate the multiple skill sets that you have, celebrate your achievements, and celebrate those people who are your pouwhirinaki or pillars of support throughout these years, and moa ke tonu atu. Tēnā koutou.